Okay, now we turn our attention to matters elsewhere, because still on the front pages of many of the papers, particularly more serious-minded, is the continuing situation and tension between Russia and Ukraine. Question is, what's that doing to the Ukrainian economy? Well, joining me now is Sergei Sivakach, who is Executive Director at UkraineInvest, and joins me now. Sergei, good morning to you.
Good morning to you. A very early good morning to Britain.
Well, indeed. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. So, the build-up of Russian troops on the border, it certainly must have impacted the Ukrainian economy. But this has been going on for many years, hasn't it?
It did. It goes on since 2014. And, Ukraine is different now in terms of coping with this case. And we have not seen any serious effect on economy right now. We have seen some concerns, but the currency, Ukrainian currency, is stable. Our international reserves are stable. Our investors are still in Ukraine, so they're not pulling out their companies. So at the moment, we are okay. We are doing well.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the country. So the country has just over 41.5 million people. That's kind of the size of it. In terms of what the economic drivers are, what are the things that make the Ukrainian economy run?
Well, we are one of the biggest world nations in terms of agriculture. So as you rightly said, we are over 41 million people strong, in our country. But at the same time, we feed 150 million people worldwide with our agri-produce. Also, we are strong in terms of metals, natural resources. We have one of the strongest lithium reserves in Ukraine. So we have very strong potential to become one of the key countries on the European continent to produce electric batteries and electric vehicles. We were very strong in terms of aerospace during Soviet Union times. And now we are picking up again. We have a lot of startups. We have good companies in aerospace sector. And also we have good startups in technology. Ukraine is very famous now in terms of IT and fintech. And our aim to have at least 10% of GDP created from IT and fintech sector in Ukraine.
I mean, Ukraine, when you start to look at it, I mean, in terms of population, you think 41.5 million, and you perhaps look at that in the context of here in the United Kingdom, where we're 70 million. But you have a look at the geographical size of Ukraine. I mean, it's a big country, isn't it? Spreading from Poland in the west, Slovakia bordering on Hungary and Romania, and then that sort of very central points, and then Belarus to the north, and then off you go to Russia to the east. So it is, I mean, it's absolutely enormous. I mean, in terms of its natural size, I mean, I'm assuming it's a very beautiful place too.
It is a beautiful place, and it varies from mountains to fields and to forests, and you can go from one side of Ukraine to another side of Ukraine. It's like you went from France to United Kingdom or to Sweden, so all these landscapes are available in Ukraine. And in terms of territory, we are big. We are 613,000 square kilometers, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so very large country and yes, very interesting economy. What do the people of Ukraine, if they had to choose, I mean, if there was a referendum as opposed to this kind of warmongering, would they choose to remain in Europe? Would they wish to see themselves become part of NATO, or are they happy being independent? What do the people of Ukraine want?
People of Ukraine want peaceful life and strong economy. That's key question and key priority for people of Ukraine. And all other things like, military support and joining European family, that is all very important for us, again, because we want to be strong in terms of economy. And our European aspirations were confirmed by people of Ukraine in 2014 when we went outside, we went on streets, and we said that there is no way for the president in 2014, for the president to withdraw our aspirations to join European family and to cancel the EU-Ukraine Association Agreement. And as you probably remember, That was a very serious case. Many Ukrainians died on streets of Kiev because police were shooting them for protesting. And after that, like pro-democratic government came to power, and we had a lot of reforms, a lot of changes in Ukraine. And then President Zelensky was elected in 2019. So the course of economic development and the course of joining European family was reinforced. And we have seen a lot of new changes like investment incentives. We have seen liberalization of markets. We have seen record-breaking FDI inflows in 2021 and also record-breaking GDP growth in 2021. And now the key worry for us, it's not war or military escalation on our border. This is, of course, concerning for us. We cannot say that we are not looking at this with some stage of concern. But for us, and for me personally, it is very, very worrying in terms of economic development, because we cannot afford this panic or stress to affect our economy. And I can tell you that there is no panic and stress in Ukraine.
I was going to ask you what, just finally to you, what people think is going to happen. Do they think that there's going to be an agreement and Ukraine remains independent?
Well, people can only think and hope what will happen, because we cannot decide for Putin, we cannot decide for Russian Federation. We can only hope that there will be a de-escalation and there will be a peaceful treaty or peaceful agreement, how to proceed forward. It's a bit strange because nothing changed since 2014. And we can see that escalation during the last month. So something is going on the agenda of our neighbors, and it is very hard to predict what will be the next step. But as Ukrainian nation, we can only hope that there will be a peaceful resolution and a peaceful, commitment from our Russian neighbors.
Well, let's hope that is the case. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. That's Sergei Sivkach, who is Executive Director at UkraineInvest.